even though we do the search today, it's not going to be valid or up to date on the at the time of the deal. The seller might be anywhere on earth at that point. So that's why POA, which is power of attorney, has to be issued. So it's a wasted money, wasted time, just because we need to have that tick that there is no loans on the property. So they gave us the deposit, and before I could send the receipt to the seller, last minute they called me and they're like, Maria, we decided we don't want that apartment, we want another one. They're buying a bungalow, 2-bedroom for £150,000. We got to discount it. So, and they're really eager to reserve that bungalow and place the deposit, but they have a very strict rules. But like, seriously, you're not protected until you verify that with the land registry at the moment of registration of that property on your name. And the question that I get asked, but that means you're earning less. Yes, that means I'm earning less, but that means you're going to be the client that I'm going to retain. You're going to be the client that I'm going to get referrals from. Hello everyone, today's video is going to be about frequently asked questions, or the questions I get asked or I got asked lately by my clientele, the existing clients or potential clients or just an inquiries that are coming through. So one of the news that I've announced in my last video was the fact that one of the leading developers announced very big payment plans, right? And to be exact, I'm talking about Noyanlar. I'm speaking about it very openly. It's an amazing developer with a very strong track record of 50 years of being in the market. They've completed a huge amount of sites. They always issue title deeds. Everything is in order with the documents. It's one of the biggest and leading companies, and their presence is very strong in East Korea region. So, as we know, East Korea is not as cheap as it used to be before. And of course, the prices have gone up, even though we do have some resales in there, but still, it's not to everyone's budget, right? Because, studios of plan in East Korea would probably not go below 110, 120,000 as of this moment before the discount. So, some people don't have that money. Hence why, a lot of developers try to look for cheaper locations where the land is still very cheap, where they can build a lot more affordable housing. So one of those projects by Noyanlar, it's exactly the project I was telling you about in my news for the September month. It's called Olea Residence, and it is being built in Kale. The project has been released for sales, oh my goodness, probably about 2 years ago. So it's not a new type of project. But Kale is a village in the middle of the island, so it's not anywhere close to the seafront. I would say it's about 20 kilometers away from East Korea and from the nearest coast, and it's about 20 kilometers or 20 minutes drive from Nicosia, from Lipkosha. So it's a small village. You do have a couple of local shops. You probably have a police station, Bilidia, some sort of local school. But it doesn't have any major infrastructure. It's not a hotspot for tourism. It's not a hotspot for foreigners to be residing in there. It's just, a regular village that you would see in very rural type of area for local population. The land is very cheap, hence why the projects are cheaper comparing to the all-inclusive type of resorts that you would get in East Korea or any other region, right? So, Olea Residence, the location is Kale. The project is somewhat all-inclusive type of project. There is no major infrastructure, but there is a communal pool, there is a gym, there's going to be some sort of restaurant or commercial zones, and of course, kids' playground with a gated community and landscape design. So nothing extraordinary. So it's just a regular comfort housing with some sort of amenities within. The prices start for 1-bedroom apartment. The starting price is about £70,000. 2-bedroom apartment of a very small size go for £80,000. 2-bedroom apartment for a decent size go for about £90,000. If we're looking into 3-bedroom apartments, it's going to be roughly about £110,000. There are penthouses available. The penthouses would be 2+1 or 3+1, starting with £130,000, I believe, something along those lines. So, because that area is not very popular among buyers on the market because of its location, the developer has to attract a new clientele with some sort of offering, right? And that's where the long payment plans come through. And the payment plan, I've announced it as if it was 13 years of free of interest, but it's not the case. You get a free of interest payment plan up to 5 years, I believe. So it's 36 months plus 24. but then you have to pay off the balance within 5 years. If you want to go beyond that, up to 13 years, then you will have to be paying interest 12% per annum, okay, to the developer for using the free money, basically, because money is never free. So there are 2 stages of construction. The first phase will be completed in March of 2026. And for that particular phase, you would have to be paying a down payment, which is, 30% down payment for any of the apartment that you're buying, which would roughly be equivalent to 25 to 35,000 pounds, depending on the unit. And then you have 2 years payment plan to pay off your balance. I mean, we can negotiate it to 3, but then again, it's not anything of extraordinary. So you will receive your key and you will still have a couple of years to pay off your balance. The second stage of construction would be delivered in August of 2027. And you, in here, because the delivery is longer, you can actually spread your down payment over 36 months. You can reserve a unit today, 1-bedroom unit for 5,000 or 2-bedroom unit for 7,500 pounds, and then pay for 36 months, 500 pounds per month, okay? Plus 2,000 on after 36 months period. And then that's when the regular payment plan starts, because that will just close those 36 months, will just cover your down payment of 30%. So the remaining can be spread over 2 years free of interest, or if you would like longer payment plan, again, you would have to be paying 12% per annum to the developer for using free money. So money is never free. Of course, if there is some sort of offer of such, that means, it's not overly desired location. What is the potential of that location if you look into it in terms of the rental income or resale? Resale, I would consider to be slightly risky because at least it's going to be a very long-term investment if you're looking for a flipping strategy. I'm talking about up to 10 years because the area is very rural. There is plenty of land to build on, and people would always prefer, free of interest payment plans for a few years rather than buying a ready apartment. If you're talking about the rental passive income for long-term rental, definitely it's not going to be a short-term. Long-term rental, we can only encounter for the workers or students. But then again, to the closest university is probably 15 to 20 minutes drive, which is a very lengthy distance for Northern Cyprus. It would be probably more appealing to the hotel workers or casino workers, because those guys, they get delivered to their housing by the company's transport service, right? Like the hotel type of service. So that would be your potential clientele that you're going to be looking for if you're looking to invest this money for long-term rental, okay? But then again, the prices are not going to be very expensive for the rental. Why? Because it's a rural area, because it's a village, and because it's located far away from the major city centers, all right, such as Iskele, Famagusta, or Lefkosha itself, where, universities, organizations, municipalities, and the hotels are. If you ask my personal opinion, would I consider this type of investment as a profitable one? I would say I see a lot better opportunities on the market in terms of potential returns, capital appreciation, rental returns, but then again, they're high in price. So if you're price sensitive and you just want to own a house or start your investment portfolio somewhere with a low entry, that could be a good option with a low entry cost. But then again, you have to think of the span of the investment. It's going to be a very long-term investment rather than a short-term. So anyone who is interested, I would rather schedule a Zoom and take you through the project, giving you the key points, rather than just sending you the information. Because sending information directly to a client over WhatsApp never works. You never understand anything. You don't understand the payment plan. It has to be broken down to you, and that can only be done via preferably Zoom, because even over the phone, there is no such a big contact with the clients, and there is no eye contact, and people tend to understand less information rather than a personal meeting. So anyone who's interested, DM me and let's schedule a Zoom, and I will tell you more about the project, breaking down the payment plan for you. Now, let's talk about resale options when there are title deeds on the owner's name as the sellers, okay? I mean, it should be a very straightforward process that we're undergoing with one of my clients from Norway. They're buying a bungalow, 2-bedroom, for 150,000 pounds. We got to discount it. So, and they're really eager to reserve that bungalow and place the deposit, but they have a very strict lawyer. And the lawyer goes by particular terms. And those terms are, I have to see POA, I have to see the title deed, and I have to have the search on hands to make sure there is no loans or any sort of debts on the property. Sounds very straightforward and correct. You think that those things should be done. But then again, just think of it. search is done by current regulation only by the owner of the property or by the lawyer of the owner. Okay. So the search is valid here and now. Basically, today we conduct the search. We pay, the seller paid money for it to the lawyer, and the search is being done. It normally takes up to a week. And then once we have that search, before the deal commences, the owner would still have an opportunity to take that loan if he wishes to do so. And the only reason and the only way you are protected is that the money is given to the seller at the land registry only at the moment of registration of that property, when the official government worker checks within the system that there is no loans, there is no obligations, there is no any debt on the property. So even though we do the search today, it's not going to be valid or up to date on the at the time of the deal. Okay, so it's a wasted money, wasted time, just because we need to have that tick that there is no loans on the property. But seriously, you're not protected until you verify that with the land registry at the moment of registration of that property on your name. POA, that's something that has to be issued and has to be in place because the holder of the title deed, once they sell the property, they're gone. They're going back to their home country, whatever they are. But the transfer of the title deed would only happen once the buyer get the permission to transfer the title deed on their name. And that will happen within a year after the sale has been closed. And we would need a signature from that seller to transfer the title deed into the new owner's name after a year of the deal has been closed, okay? The seller might be anywhere on earth at that point. So that's why POA, which is power of attorney, has to be issued from the sellers onto the lawyers, right? The lawyer that is present in here and is going to remain present in here to make sure that we have someone appointed to sign the title deed transfer into the new buyer's name, okay, into the new owner's name. So POA must be in place. The things are fine. We're waiting for the search, but that takes time to come through. And because of that, anyone can buy that bungalow at this point in time, whoever, would be a little bit faster on reacting. But then again, if the buyer did place a deposit with their own lawyer without sending that deposit to a seller's lawyer, just to, prove that the intention, the buyer would have not lost anything. If there was something wrong, the lawyer would have refunded the deposit to the buyer, okay? But now we have no deposit. The property in the question is hanging out there. We're still waiting for the search that is not even relevant, and that's delaying the whole process. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that, there are some lawyers go by different policies. If one lawyer would have accepted that deposit and said that search is not relevant because we will find out that the property in question is in good standing with no obligations on it right at the cadastral department once we've registered the agreement, and because until the agreement is registered, no money is being passed on to the seller, so that you understand. So your money is protected with the lawyer. That's why the transaction, especially when it comes to resale properties, always has to come through a lawyer's account, because lawyers ensures that safety of transaction. Lawyers ensures that the money will remain on the lawyer's account until the lawyer is absolutely sure that your contract can be registered with the land registry department and the property in question becomes yours. So it all happens at the same time, the registration and the money transfer from the lawyer's account to the seller's account, all by check being given. Even though there is a standard procedure, different lawyers follow slightly different rules. So, if the deal takes time, just, be aware that there is a whole bunch of people involved. There would be a seller's lawyer, there would be a buyer's lawyer, there would be an agent, there could be two agents. That's another question that I'm going to raise right now with regards to two agents being present in the deal. So, just don't be surprised if the deal takes time. It's a bureaucracy. And one more thing to mention. If the buyer's lawyer is very interested for the sale to be processed quickly because they get paid for it, the seller's lawyer is not that very much interested just because, it's the service that they're not getting paid for. So they are a lot slower at replying to the emails and providing the information, providing the documents, just because they don't have so much interest in it because they don't get paid for it anymore. So that's another thing that you have to bear in mind. And also, the bigger the company of lawyers is, the more important they are, the slower they reply to your questions, okay, or to your inquiries. Basically, if it's an individual lawyer that works within an office, certified, licensed, whatever, within association of the lawyers, but they're a lot faster at responding. Whereas compared to the big companies that have multiple lawyers and have a lot of assistants, those companies tend to reply a little bit slower. It's not rule of thumb. I'm just saying that those kind of things do happen. So bear that in mind also. Now let's talk about 2 agents present in one deal. Let me break it down. So let's say when it's your home type of property and an agency, there is normally one agency that holds the listing of one particular property. And once you search for a house back in your home country, you have all the time in the world. I'm pretty sure that you're not buying a house in 1 week. You literally, allocate the time once per week, twice per week, go to different agencies and looking at the particular properties, right? From different agencies, different listings. But once you come to Northern Cyprus or any other country, vacational type of destination to get a holiday home or investment, you only come for a week, okay? Northern Cyprus has 350, probably 400,000 population right now. And we have about 300 agencies, if not more than that. Like the amount of agencies is crazy in here. So once you come to Northern Cyprus, as small as the island is, as the hugest amount of agencies as we have in here, it's like physically one agency cannot hold all of the portfolio of the properties on the island because there are so many agencies, right? Normally, there would be up to 5 agencies holding one listing. Maybe sometimes it's even one agency holding one listing, right? So you as a client, you come to Northern Cyprus, you have a particular request, right? And you contact particular agency. Trust me, that agency will have a very limited number of units that match your request because remaining of the units would be with other agencies, right? But to make sure we find the best possible deal, we have to collaborate. Basically, me as an agent, I hold my own second-hand portfolio and I collaborate with other agencies that hold extensive portfolio as well. So whenever I have a client, whenever I have an inquiry, I turn the market upside down. Because I know all of the complexes, major complexes, little complexes in all other regions. I turn the market upside down, basically contacting all of my partners to see who's got the best price or who's got the best unit in a particular location of a particular type, with a particular type of size, etc. Penthouse, not penthouse. So I actually do the work to make sure. And a lot of the times when I have a client, I will show the client a few properties options that I hold myself. And then we will go see other agencies and look at the properties with other agencies that, hold the properties with the request that match the client's priorities, basically. Having agents collaborating with other agencies, it's a normal practice in Northern Cyprus because while you're being here for 1 week, you physically cannot contact 10, 20 agencies to show you one property each, that matches your request. Those agencies are not going to pick you up from the house. Those agencies will try to push you on another sale of some other units that they have that don't match your request. Those agencies are not going to consult you fully, giving you truthful information about the military bases, about what the taxes are, what the quality of the developer, the behavior of the developer. Those agencies are very interested to put you through with one particular unit that they hold in their portfolio, trying to, say that everything else is not as relevant or is not as interesting. But once you have one agent, let's say me in my position, I will communicate truthful information to you in the sense that it doesn't matter whether I sell my own listing or somebody else's listing. For me, the main feature is to make sure you get what you're looking for. For me, the main feature is to make sure that you get what you're looking for. That's first of all. Second of all, with best possible price. And third of all, when I know that the development is going to be very well looked after by the developer because I know about the reputation, about their policies, internal ethical work patterns, etc. So, and another important thing to know is that the price that you pay for that property does not change. Basically, the commission is already included within the price. And whether it's one agency involved, 2 agencies involved, 3 agencies involved, the commission is still the same, right? And you pay exactly the same price. It's just being shared among agents. And the question that I get asked, but that means you're earning less. Yes, that means I'm earning less. But that means you're going to be the client that I'm going to retain. You're going to be the client that I'm going to get referrals from. You're going to be the client that's going to be happy with the purchase and that's essentially will become my friend on the island. And we have our own group of people now in here, all my clients that we maintain a really close relationship with. I mean, money is good, of course, but agents' work is the most important one. I mean, nothing can replace the reputation and the happiness of the clients once they are happy with the purchase. I keep on switching on and off because you can't really see me. So don't be concerned if there are a couple of agencies involved because that's absolutely normal in Northern Cyprus. I mean, we do have to collaborate to make sure we, find the best possible option for a client and close that client on that option. And, the client is being satisfied with the choice. Another question that I wanted to raise is actually with regards to my recent clients that we're having a deal being closed tomorrow. Amazing complex in Alsancak, the best one you can actually pick. And we still have a couple of apartments available in there on resale. So that client, we have worked with him for a long time. I mean, first of all, the existing clients, they already purchased property through me, and that was another unit they were looking to purchase. And we turned the market upside down. We went to the different locations. Without telling me, they contacted other agents. They looked at the alternatives. They realized that I offer the best pricing. And, eventually they came back to me saying like, okay, that's what we want. And they've actually picked a very cheap unit in a center allocation, a very small in size, but they saw it as a beneficial in terms of the rental. Even though I didn't really agree with it, I didn't object because we've already turned the market upside down. They know the market very well. They've been living here for a while. They know all of the locations. They know all of the developers. So I was like, if that's their choice, that's fine. So they gave us the deposit. And before I could send the receipt to the seller, last minute, they called me and they're like, Maria, we decided we don't want that apartment, we want another one. And I was like, why? Well, because we went there again and we saw it and we've actually realized that it's too small. Oh my goodness, my dear friends, when you are picking an apartment, please, I would be happy to show it to you 2 times, 3 times, 4 times before you commit to the purchase. But please bear in mind, deposits are non-refundable unless there is a seller's fault, okay? And because of the seller, the purchase doesn't go through. Deposits are non-refundable. In this case scenario, when I already held the deposit, the seller already knew I took the deposit. And just because I didn't send the receipt, I had the opportunity to hold on to that deposit and place it for another unit that was picked in a couple of days' time. But because of that, I actually risk my reputation. I risk the partnerships that I have with other agents that I could do collaborate. So the main point that I'm trying to make in here, please sleep with the thought of buying that particular unit, okay? If you're required to visit it again, 2, 3 times, I do not mind. I would be happy to take you there once again, just to make sure you're making a right choice and making a right decision and you're happy with it, to avoid those kind of complications. Because as I said, me as an agent, I'm risking my relationship with the partners. I'm risking my relationship with the sellers. And that's not a good thing for my reputation. Even though I do want to go above and beyond to please you, it's like it comes at a cost. So please be sure with the choice that you are making. And if you need a little bit more time to think, please take the time to think, unless the unit is very hot and the price is very cheap and it's going to go off the market tomorrow, that's another case that we actually struggle with because people take too much time to think. And then within 2-3 days, the unit is gone. And once they come back, there is nothing to offer for an alternative price. I'm thinking the last question that I wanted to discuss with you is my latest viewings that was over this weekend. The investor is from USA. And he holds an extensive portfolio of properties, but in European type of country. And of course, we looked at the options and he started asking me questions about the long-term rental strategy because that's purely a rental strategy for him as a passive income stream. So when I started explaining how the long-term rental works in here, it actually contradicts with his vision because he's used to something totally different. He's explained to me that on the south, normally if it's a long-term rental, the agency takes 1/4 of commission from the owner of the property to rent the apartment out. Whereas in here in Northern Cyprus, when it's a long-term rental, an agency takes 1 month worth of rental from the tenant as an extra rental month, okay? So if let's say the property in question is £700 per month, it's like half a year to a year term contract, the agency will charge aside of the 2 deposits worth of 1 month rental each, aside of 2 or 3 payments in advance for the rental for 2 or 3 months, depending on the terms, the agency will take 1 month worth of rental as a commission from the tenant. Okay. But then again, that way the agency just rents your apartment out, but they don't really monitor the rental. They don't take care of it. They've received their commission from the tenant. That's it. That's their job done. They can register the contract if required, etc. But that's their job done. If you'd like someone to look after your property while you're away, once it's being rented out long term, there are other costs involved. And those costs can be very different. It's whatever you negotiate with the agency or with a particular agent, and the terms could be another 1 month worth of rental from you as the owner to manage your property for half a year or for a year. It can be a fixed rate for the services that are being provided. Let's say the cleaning is required or some sort of fixtures. Then you can agree that you would charge 20% of the total price required for fixing certain things, right, within an apartment. Or it can be a fixed rate per visit to the apartment, or it can be a percentage from rental. So let's say the apartment has been rented out with one agency, but you pass it on to another agency to manage the rental for you, okay? And that agent might be taking, 20% or 15% of your rental income to manage that property for you in terms of the fixtures, in terms of the visits, in terms of making sure that all bills are paid, to make sure that all of the rentals being made on time. So Northern Cyprus, when it comes to long-term rental, does work differently comparing to European countries. So bear that in mind as well, my dear friends. Once it comes to short-term rental in here, if it's a private individual as some sort of agency or agent, then the normal rate would be roughly about 25% from the rental income, okay, to manage the rental short-term. If it's a company as developer's company, trust me, it will not be lower than 30%. Most likely it will be closer to 40% because that's what generally developers do charge, because they invest into campaigns, they organize some sort of events to ensure occupancy rates. They do get engaged with some sort of exhibitions, some sort of groups, that come here for a visit to make sure that, again, your apartment is being occupied more than usual. Thank you so much for watching, my dear friends. It's been lovely to have you here. I will soon come back with the news. And of course, I wish everyone a very productive week ahead. See you soon.